Hello and welcome back to Redefine Parenting. I am your host, Vinu Keller. I want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and her network on Zingo TV's channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on respective app stores and iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire Sticks, Roku, Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So today I feel like we have a big treat because a lot of the guests that I bring on are adults and we have different ideas of what it's like to parent kids. And one of the things that many of you listeners hear me talk about is the generational gap. And if we're going to try to parent our kids the way that we were parented, we're going to fail. We're going to fail because we are living in a totally different generation. And being able to understand our kids is probably the biggest mystery. So what I did is I brought in one of my clients, Kate Young. Kate, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. And the reason why I brought Kate was because, I've been coaching Kate for over a year now, I think it's been. And when Kate came to me, she was in we call it a dark space, right? Do you want to kind of share where you were at when you came to me over a year ago?
Yeah, I was really depressed. I was not doing well in school. I just was not in a good space at all. I did not want to keep going. It was not good.
It's kind of crazy to think that now, huh? Like
Yeah.
how far you've come. It's like, gosh, I was in a space where I didn't even want to live anymore, you know? And I think that a lot of kids your age, go through this of what's my purpose? If this is how life is going to be, do I even want to keep going on? Feeling that pain constantly in each day. So, again, one of the issues that I think that is prevalent today is also understanding your own sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And coming in from like 8th grade, going into 9th grade, a lot of it, more and more clients of mine actually, are identifying as gay, identifying as bisexual. And I know that you and I had the conversation with there was 96 different titles a person can have to identify their sexuality. And, and you were kind of adamant at that time that you felt that, you were gay at that time.
Mm-hmm.
What, just so the listeners can get perspective, what is going on with these kids? Because when I was growing up in the 80s, we weren't talking about it. There were definitely kids that were gay, but we weren't talking about it. We weren't seeing commercials on it. What do you feel is going on now with your generation?
Well, I feel like kids are they start to struggle, and then they see this group of people that's hey, we know it's okay, be yourself here, we're gonna accept you no matter what, it doesn't matter because everyone else is gonna hate you, but we got you. And so it kind of it's not even a conscious thought. It's I'm deciding that I like girls now. It's just subconsciously hearing this and then being oh, I am attracted to this. And then in the reality, it may not be true for all people. Some people definitely, but not a lot of them.
So what I'm hearing you say, it's almost like finding your tribe that just accepts you for whoever you are. And it's all of a sudden I'm accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like your mind plays tricks on you, your mindset shifts and you're like, oh gosh, I do like girls. I do like girls. And, I liked how you framed that for some, because there are people that I do know that are gay,
Yeah.
and that's who they are. That's who they've been. That's what they identify with. And it's not about being a part of a tribe. It's who they are.
Yeah.
So I like that you pointed that out, because for the listeners, I didn't bring Kate on here to say, if your child feels this way, they're going to change later, because there's some kids that do not change. I brought her on here because I wanted you to hear the mindset of what can be possible, what could be going on. Doesn't mean it's the end all be all, because let's face it, I have 6 kids and all 6 of my kids are all different. Even the twins are very different. They're raised by the same parents in the same household with the same boundaries, and they are completely different. So, I just want to make that very clear to the listeners out there that this isn't for everybody, but I wanted to bring Kate on because when do we get an opportunity as adults, as parents, as teachers, as grandparents to really hear what's going on, the pressures that they have to face day to day? So, Kate, one of the things that, you know, what we decided was going to be best for you, well, you decided, and your parents were so great in supporting you and helping you find your identity, was that you decided that you wanted to get away from school
Mhm.
and just to be homeschooled. So, what was that switch for you to be in public school your entire life? And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, I can't do this. If I'm going to work on me, I can't do school too.
Yeah, I think like the main like reason I decided to switch was like school is like such a major source of like anxiety and like all these things are like coming at me. But like I just need to like take a step back and like just work on myself. And like at first it was like perfect for me. Like it was like, yeah, like I needed this, like I can just do school on my own, which keep myself accountable was a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, I worked through it and it was a lot better so I could just like cut out all the other distractions and just focus on like making myself better.
So, when did you start to realize that, wait a second, that's not my tribe? I don't need to be where they're at, and getting yourself out of there to have a different mindset to say, actually, I'm not gay. Like, I like boys very much, which you and I discuss every other week.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the main thing was like changing like the media I was like consuming because like
Mm.
all of like the books I was reading and all of like the sides of like the internet I was on was like feeding it all to me like all at once. And then I like slowly started like distance myself from that. Like and it was kind of like the same time like as I stopped going to school and like I don't know, I just like took myself away from like all the distractions and then just like focus on like what like I actually like felt. And like then I realized that like no, like it's like not for me.
So, what I hear you saying is that a lot of it is not just the peer group that you hang out with, but it's the social media, it's the sites you're going to, it's what you're filling your brain with, really.
Yeah.
And when you start to switch that, it all of a sudden you start to realize, yeah, I'm not resonating with that anymore.
Hmm.
And I know that you got really into your church. I mean, you've always been part of your church group, but I know last summer you did camp after camp after camp, and you surrounded yourself with people who accepted you for who you were and were like-minded people. And I feel like that also, because you got influenced by I call them the tribe, like the group of people you hang out with,
Yeah.
and that were not pushing or forcing or influencing in any way,
Yeah,
which is,
because I feel
yeah.
like at school, I mean, I was like with like a group of friends who were like not like they were like forcing me to be anything, but it was also like most of them like were like bisexual or some like at least like something.
Mhm.
And then when I like stopped, like no one was like pushing anything on me, and then I like had more time to like be around people who like thought the same way as me, and realized like that's not like who I was.
So what does peer pressure look like for you guys nowadays? So like peer pressure for us back when I was growing up was like, come on, be new, you want to try it. You'll be cool if you try it. Come on, don't be stupid. No one's gonna know. Come on, try the cigarette. Like that was peer pressure for me. What does peer pressure look like for kids your age nowadays?
Well, I feel like most people like they don't like think they're like peer pressuring you, because most of the time it's not like, well, if you just do it, like you'll be so cool. Most of it's like, oh my gosh, like everyone around me is doing it. Like I don't want to be the only one left out from this. Like if I like smoke or drink or like the same gender, then like I'm like cool and I'm accepted. Like I'm not like what everyone else is like doing. You know?
So it's almost like a passive way that they're peer
Yeah.
pressuring you.
So
It's
it's
almost
not
like they're showing you all the fun and you're watching, you're like, okay, if I'm going to be like them, then I got to do like them if I want the fun
Mhm.
like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And what do you feel, I've always told people, who you spend your time with is who you become. A
Mhm.
lot of kids will say that's not true, that's not true. So I want to ask you, you're 16, how true is that statement for kids your age?
I think it's like pretty true. I mean, if you like have like a solid like group of friends, then like you can have like your differences and stuff, but like you'll I mean even just in like passive voice, like you'll like like start to like say things like that they say like little phrases or like act the way they act or whatever. And then also like some like big ways, like if you're the group of people you're hanging out with is maybe like not the best, then you'll start to like accept kind of like some of the bad things too, even if like you don't realize it. So I feel like it's definitely true.
So for parents that are listening that really like have a child that's starting to pull back, they're wanting their alone time, they're staying in their room all the time, they're not wanting to even come to family dinners. They just want to get away from their parents. What would you say to the parents out there? How could they support their kids if they're going through a time period like that right now?
Yeah, I think you just have to like kind of go into it with like no judgment, because like what they're feeling is like, I mean not everyone, but what they might be feeling is like, oh, like I just like want to be like alone, like nobody like gets me or whatever. So I feel like you have to go into it with like a headspace of like not like judging them or like trying to like push them to like do things or really.
So how would a parent do that? So put yourself back in your shoes, gosh, almost 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And when you're pushing your parents away who want, I mean, and your parents have been so supportive. They would do
Mhm.
whatever it took. They did whatever it took to get you where you are today. So I just want to, first of all, just applaud your parents because they have just been a beautiful rock for you, you
Mhm.
know? And but going back to those times, like when you were in the thick of it, when you were trying to push your parents away and wanted your alone time, trying to figure this out, what could they have said differently to open that door? How would you know they weren't judging you and that they were really trying to quote unquote get you in that moment?
I'm honestly like not really sure because I think they definitely like tried their best to like really get me to like open up and like come be with them. But like I was just in like such a headspace of like I was just like such like a dark cloud over me that like I like couldn't even see it. So I'm honestly not sure.
No, that's good. I mean, and this is the honest answer because that's what kids do feel, right? It's
Mhm.
it's like they want that love and support and at the same time they don't know how to open because I remember that spot that you were in and it was here's my hallucination about kids today is that they don't want to disappoint their parents. They don't want
Mhm.
their parents to feel like it's their fault. They don't even understand what's going on in their brain and their mental health. And so trying to explain it to their parents, it's like they have no words.
Yeah.
And so it's better to just be quiet, push everyone away, than let them in and try to process it with you.
Yeah, because it's like I know this like this feeling is like wrong. Like I shouldn't be feeling this, but I am. Like I don't know why. And like if they like try to ask me questions or like even just try to like spend time with me, like I'm pushing them away because like I don't even know what's going on. Like I don't want them to like be disappointed in me.
Right. Right. And it's funny because like you said, your parents were there from the beginning trying to support you
Mhm.
and you saw that. It's like I see like the parents reaching out and then you're reaching out, but there's such space in between because it's like we don't know how to connect. We don't know
Yeah.
how to you don't know how to receive and they don't know how to give you what you need to receive it.
Mhm.
you know and that's why for my listeners out there, I think coaching works so well for kids because it gives them someone that a I was never going to judge Kate. She had a safe space to tell me whatever she felt, and she did, and she told me a lot of things and things that she knew I wasn't going to judge her. She didn't have to worry about hurting my feelings. She didn't have to worry about me thinking that it was my fault. She just had an open space to kind of let everything out, and even if her thoughts didn't make sense, she was able to just say them without any type of judgment coming towards her. And so, and what we did also with Kate was we looked at what she wanted to feel instead of what she was feeling,
Mhm.
and we really supported her and figuring that, how to get that feeling. And, you know, I know, Kate, one of the feelings that you wanted, you felt alone at that time. So you wanted to feel like you belonged. You know, you had
Yeah.
your one best friend, you know, that's been your best friend since you were babies. And, but she didn't live by you. So it was like you only got to see her occasionally. And it was interesting because I noticed that probably after like 2 or 3 months of coaching, you started to build a new foundation of friends at church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when I started to see things really shift. So, you know, for the listeners out there, I'm going to tell you, it's really about building a tribe that you feel is a good foundation, that the mindset, you know, it's like listening to what Kate's saying is that it's not just the people that influence her. It was what she was watching, what she was reading. It was keeping her in that headspace. And, you know, some of you listeners have heard me say this before. It's if we don't, you know, tend to the garden in our brain and pull out the weeds are going to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to suffocate all our good thoughts, all of our good intentions, because that's what weeds do. They suffocate the beauties of the flowers, right?
Yeah.
So, what I love that you said is that you just started to shift your perspective and you found positive podcasts. I think it was Emma Chamberlain,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? That was the first one that you started listening to. What was it about her podcast that really drew you into it?
I mean, she just was like so like real and um like she also like struggles with like depression, anxiety, but she's still like super, or she like seems super fun and like super chill and like she doesn't let it like take over her life, you know. So I thought that was cool.
And she was more your age.
Yeah.
Not a big old like older adult, yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I think so. So hear what Kate is saying. You know, she found a podcast with somebody that was like-minded, that Kate was able to match with her, because she's like, oh, I felt that. But she also saw a role model that was more her age, that was showing that she wasn't the diagnosis. It was a part of what she feels, but it wasn't who she was. She didn't accept it as her identity. And I know, Kate, you and I would talk about some of her shows, how she just would just talk about like day-to-day things and how she got through them. And, you know, it really inspired you that, wow, like I don't have to, I can detach any diagnosis or any thoughts or opinions people have of me
Yeah.
and not make it like, oh, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a feeling in that moment. It's just a thought you had in that moment, and you were able to distract yourself from it. When you were at school, you know, and I know that you're ready to go back to school too, right? So
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to see your full transition from the public school, being around kids, to saying, okay, I'm going to find myself. And now it's like, I'm ready. You know, I
Yeah.
know who I am. I know what I stand for. I have the strength. I have the confidence. I'm ready to go. And you're starting school, you know, this fall. And you're going to be a junior now, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that kids deal with day to day? Like literally, like in your classroom, why are kids feeling so alone when they're at these big institutions we call school with so many kids? Like, how do kids literally feel so alone?
I mean, I think part of it for me was just like my anxiety about everything, because like it was just like this feeling I had, but then also it was like that feeling plus like, oh, I have like this assignment due like then, and I only have like so long to work on it, and I like have to see this person when I go in the hallway, and like I just don't want to like deal with it. And then also like my friends like are starting to like spread rumors about me, and like I don't know like what's going on. So I feel like distancing myself from like all of that was really the right decision, because you know, just going through school, like the schoolwork was like fine, but then there's all the other pressures on top of that were just like overwhelming.
So, what I'm hearing you say, it's not just the school pressure of the assignments and what's your expectation of that. It was also the pressure of your peers,
Yeah.
like having the expectations to live up to or lack thereof, and then them talking about you.
Yeah.
And it seems like kids your age, it's like every time they're turning around, they're trying to put out another fire. It's like,
Yeah.
no, 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 that's not true. I don't know where you heard that from. Because people take one little thing and they turn it into whatever they want. in order to feel empowered themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what they're
because it
doing.
was like I turned one way and it was like, no, like I don't know like why my friends aren't talking to me. Like I don't know why they're spreading rumors about me. And I turn the other way and it's like, Kate, like why are you almost failing math? Like what's going on there? And I like turn the other way and it's like, there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's like why am I starting to like feel like so like depressed? Like I've never felt this way before. And then it's all those things adding up to just not good.
So, what was the key thing? Like, would you say, how was your life when you were like in elementary school and middle school?
Well, in elementary school, I always like excelled. Like I was in like the like gifted and talented program in my little elementary school, and like I didn't ever have to like try for anything. And then like I just had like one or two or three friends. Like it was like fine. And then I went to middle school, and there was so much drama like every single day, like without fail. And then the classes started getting harder, and I actually started having to like try in classes. And then by like the end of middle school, like it all just like I don't know, I guess it all just like came to like a boiling point.
Mm. So, would it be like eighth grade?
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I got my psych degree and I was studying, they said eighth grade is the toughest year for a student. It's really when everything is coming to front and center of who am I? What's my purpose here? Who are my friends? Are they really my friends? Am I living life to meet their expectations, or am I living my life to meet my expectations, or am I living my life to meet my parents' expectations?
Mm-hmm.
I have a client that I was talking to today, and she's 14 years old, and she was saying to me, I said, well, if you got your grades up from an F to a C, would that make you proud? And she says, it would. She says, but I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows me is like how much you kids are doing things because you want your parents to feel proud. You want society to feel proud. You want society to accept you. And all along at night when you're in your room, you're trying to wonder like, well, who am I? Like, where do I fit into this world?
Yeah. So
You
then
know?
you like try to like search out like other little communities, and when you find one, like that's what it did for me at least. And I was like, okay, well, like all my friends are going, like I don't even know who I am anymore. Like so I was trying to find other little communities, and the ones I found, like they were really toxic, and it just wasn't who I was. So
Yeah. Well, it seems like you get into that vulnerable position, and then like the first group that says, hey, we like you.
mm-hmm.
You're one of us. Be one of us. And it's like, well, what is one of you? Well, we're this way, and we're eccentric, and we like the same sex, and we changed our pronouns and this and that. And it's like, but be like us and we like you. Oh, okay, that's easy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's interesting because I have another client when I about a year ago, she was 12, and she said, what does it matter what my sexuality is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 12. Like for real, I'm 12. What I'm going to be when I'm 13, who I'm going to like when I'm 15, who I'm going to marry, I don't know. So I don't even want a label.
Yeah.
I am a girl. I'm born a girl. I'm a she. I'm good with that. Who I'm attracted to today may change tomorrow, and it may not
Mm-hmm.
change. And she's like, but I don't want to be labeled for that. And it was like in that moment, I was like, wow, she is 12 years old. And I just felt like, preach it, because this is what people need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being so concerned on what the labels are of our kids, and we have to save them and we have to fix them and we have to change it, I feel like, especially with this conversation, I thank you, Kate, for being so vulnerable, is that we really need to figure out what's the tribe, who's the influence, who are our kids surrounding themselves with, whether it's social media, books, videos, movies, whatnot, because,
Mm-hmm.
if you're vulnerable, it's a great way to get sucked in
Yeah.
to a group or not. So, I mean, I think that is so profound, and again, I'm not saying anything's wrong with it or not, but what I'm saying is that we're living in a very volatile world right now where it's constantly talked about.
Mm-hmm.
the conversations are there, you know, um, and it's just everything is trying to get normalized, and the parents are going like, what happened?
Mhm.
You know, did my kids even have a chance to be who they wanted to be, or did they get put in a group? Because I have another client who, um, she was 14 years old. This was like a year ago, 2 years ago. And she wanted to change her pronouns, and she saw herself as, gosh, what is it? Non-binary, and, um, gosh, it wasn't bisexual. It was one of the other words, a
Mhm.
pansexual. And now I see her, and she's straight, she's a girl, but her friends have changed. Like all her friends were either transitioning into a different sex, so going through gender.
Mhm.
I don't even know if I'm saying that right, so forgive me, my listeners, if I'm not saying it right. But they were transitioning. They wanted to be like a boy, wanted to be a girl, whatever. Um, or they wanted to change their pronouns because they felt that in their body they were more a boy than a girl, or vice versa. And when a year later, she's now a sophomore, not like that at all. And her friends totally changed. And then I have another client who was adamant about the pronouns, that she was a he or a they. And then again, a year later, nope, she's back to being a she. So, if anything, I want my listeners to understand is, if your kids are young, don't take it to heart. Like, don't feel you failed as a parent. Don't feel that you've done something wrong. I think what you've said is that be open and not judging.
Yeah, I think like one of the main things is like also like, if your kid like you find this out about them or like they tell you, like don't like attack it, because I feel like if it's like attacked and they're like, no, like I really do feel this way, because they probably like do in that moment, and then they're probably gonna want to be like, like, oh, like my parents just don't understand me, like they're just like everybody else, like I like, and then they go like farther into it. I feel like so.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I mean, let's just face it, because even in my days, the more my mom said no, the more I was like, oh, maybe yes.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Oh, maybe that's do that.
Hmm.
And kids do it to this day. Like, I mean, I know that one way to get my kids to not do something is to tell them to do it. Like, seriously. It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
We call it reverse psychology. So, and that is like, it's especially in your age, like with the way your brain is developing right now. Like, you're going through a rapid brain development in these years. Your brain will be fully developed at 25, and for boys it's 28. And so your frontal lobe, which is your reasoning, your executive functioning, it's starting to develop. So this is where I tell parents, we have to be the frontal lobe for you kids right now, because you don't know the long-term effects.
Yeah.
And here's my opinion. And again, for my listeners, it's purely my opinion, and I'm not a doctor. So please understand, it's my opinion from just being a mom. It's We have to allow our kids to make some decisions and help them reason through them. And they may not understand our reasoning. And if we want to support them, we need to be able to at least hear what they're saying without judgment. And what that might look like without judgment is, if a child tells you, "Oh, I like this," it's not like, "Why? Why do you like this? Why do you feel that way?" Just tell them, like, "Tell me more about it. What makes you attracted to this? What, or them, or this person, or that person, or whatever it is."
Hmm.
And investigate the information. Don't come in there with an opinion. And my listeners have heard me say this a lot: be curious, not critical.
Hmm.
You know, it's more of a curiosity than it is I know you should do it this way. Because the minute you say that, it's the minute they're like, okay, I'm not going to do it that way for sure.
Yeah.
So since you've had this different feeling of, okay, now I know who I am, what makes you so sure this is who you really are versus who you thought you were a year ago? Like, what's the difference?
I think the difference was like before, like I was just like so like wool and run on, so like working through like everything that was like going on like inside me, that like I didn't really like have the headspace to like really think through like what I was like deciding for myself, or like the information I was like consuming. So like the logical thought processes like weren't going on in my head. It was just like purely emotions, because all like the logic was going into like, okay, like why am I depressed? Like how do I make myself better? Like I don't understand this. Like that was like 90% of my headspace, and the other 10% was like just like consuming the media that I was consuming. And then
Right.
now I would say like I'm not like in that space anymore. Like I'm like good mentally. So now I have like more of the headspace to like really like think through, like use my like logic to like really think through like what like I'm feeling, and like what like the media I'm consuming is like really like saying,
Mm.
and like what I actually believe.
So when you said you needed to take time to work on you, what did that mean? How does somebody work on them at your age?
Well, I think like the main thing like that we decided was like I'm not gonna like keep myself like in this space, because I feel like, you know, especially like with having a life coach, we're like deciding to like get better and like what's like the next thing, rather than like, oh, like why do you feel this way, you know? So I feel like the first step was deciding like, okay, like I'm actually like gonna like make the effort to like make like myself get better.
You're going to get up, you're going to shower, you're going to get out of your pajama pants, you're going to
Yeah.
put on makeup, you're going to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, because at first it was like really hard, because
What?
like it was like really hard, because like I couldn't even like get out of bed.
I know.
So yeah.
I have chills. I just got chills when you said that because I went back to those moments, you know, and how, you know, every week when we were coaching, how it was, I'm doing better. What does better
Mhm.
look like to you? I'm getting out of bed and showering every day. Like that was good. Like
Yeah.
that was your better in that moment. And then we just started building upon that, help parents understand when they're when you have those racing thoughts and you hear those voices in your head. Like a lot of people are like, my kid hears voices in your head. Guess what? We all hear voices in our head. You know, if you
Mhm.
don't believe me, read the book by Michael Singer, Untethered Soul, because he talks about that roommate that's constantly in our head. And it's funny because he even talks about, and if you still think that you don't have that roommate that lives with you, next time you take a shower, tell me what's going on. You hear that roommate talking about what you got to do today, what you don't want to do, blah, 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 right?
Mhm.
So we all have it. What was the difference with the voices that you felt like you were hearing in your head, like that would just have negative impact and negative talk?
Mhm. Well, I think like originally it just started out with like anxiety and being like I feel like everybody kind of goes through this like to a minimum, but it's like, do you remember when you tripped in the hallway 2 days ago? And then, and I just couldn't like, you know, stop thinking about it or whatever. And then it was like every single thing that I would do, it's like even if I was just sitting there, it's like, why do you look like that? Like your posture's really bad. Like, you know, just like attacking me 24/7. And then, you know, it started being like making me like depressed and like telling me like all these awful things that I should do. And then, you know, I would do them because I think it's just like I have
Normal.
no other like choice. Like I'm like so depressed right now. Like I don't know what else to do. So
So how did you, like, I know some of the strategies we did with, you know, like fighting back with the voices, right? Yelling back at
mhm,
them. What would you say was like the final pivot? Like, when did you notice, like, wait, I don't have these voices in my head? It's like I have peace now.
yeah, I mean, I think like it just like kind of like slowly started to like go away, because I mean, I would just be like, you know, hear like this voice in my head, and I'd be like, no, we're not doing that. Like, what are you doing? And then slowly, like, they would just start to like fizzle out, and now they're like very, very like rare. Like, it's like almost never happens.
It's almost like the more you got confident in who you were and the more at peace you were with you, the less the voices. It's like when the depression disappeared, the voices disappeared.
Yeah.
And that is such a beautiful thing. And I think that, that was one of the strategies that you and I talked about is like yell back at it and be like, you are dumb. Like, I am not doing that.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And you started to have fun with it. Like you would even laugh. You're like, I was laughing at going, are you kidding? I'm not going to do that. That's stupid.
Mhm.
And the more you had fun with it, the more you realize that it's like treating it like outside of your body instead of inside
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah, it's like separating like that voice from yourself, because like you can like know something and you like know that's bad, but then like the voice in your head is like telling you to do it. But then it's like separating that voice from yourself, saying like, no, like this isn't like my thoughts, this is like not what I like actually like think and know. Like that's like just something like outside myself, like telling me that I should do these things.
Yeah. And so for the listeners out there, so if you're, that's just a strategy that worked for Kate, maybe it'll work for, your kids too. If they're talking about it, it's have them see it as an outside thing, not inside of them. Have them give them control back. And that's what I really think it was about, Kate. It was giving you the control back,
Mm-hmm.
that the voice was no longer controlling you. You were controlling the voice.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I do have control over my life. I don't have to succumb to this voice that's telling me to do stupid things,
Mm-hmm.
or because you don't know what else to do with your life.
Yeah.
What are some of the activities you started to do that you started to enjoy? Because I know like one thing is you started to use Pinterest and make, what did you call it again when you made your aesthetic?
Yes, my aesthetics. Yeah. I mean, I guess like I've like always had Pinterest since I was like 11 or 12, but I guess I started like to use it. This is like so dumb, but I used it to like start like more with like a purpose behind it. It's like, oh, like this is like the house I want. Like I like am like vision boarding like what I
Yeah.
want like my like friendships to be, and like what I want like my house, like my future house to look like, or just like other like, or like my like future like outfits or whatever, like the person I like want to become, and I'm like striving like towards that.
I love that. I love that. And that again, you are giving gold right now, Kate. You really are, because these are great strategies. So, for my listeners out there, if you have a teenager and they're going through stuff, we don't have to sit down and make a vision board and sit there and cut out magazines together. Pinterest is really great at this. Like, you can go and make these aesthetic boards. I had to Google that when Kate told me that word because I totally thought it was a different word. But I love that because let me ask you something. When you started to visualize what your friendships were going to look like on Pinterest, what do your friendships look like right now? Are they
I mean,
similar?
like I, go to church and I hang out with my like church friends like every week, and we do like little Bible studies together, and we like go to camp together, and like we like make, or like I guess I make more of like an effort into like doing these fun things with them, and like having more of like community with them, rather than just being like, oh yeah, like they're my friends, I hang out with them sometimes, but they don't really get me. So like now it's like I have like actually deep connection with like my friends.
So would you say it matches the vision that you had in your Pinterest board?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I just got chills again. This is so good. So you're not only just envisioning what you want, you're taking the action because you can actually see what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And here's where I would say that kids get stuck is that the reason why, and tell me if this is right or wrong, Kate,
Mhm.
because again, I'm an adult, you're a kid, you're living through this stuff, but it's you think you want something, but you can't see it. So then the only thing you know how to say when people say, well, what do you want? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that
it's, yeah, go ahead.
that's well, I'm just saying like that like is what like yeah, like I couldn't like see like what I wanted. So it's like, what do you want to like do with your future? It's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Graduate.
And now with the vision board, you were able to actually put visuals to what your future could look like.
Hmm.
Because I remember when we first started, and I don't know if you remember, you wanted a cat cafe in like France or something like that, in
Hmm.
Paris.
Yep.
That's the only thing that you wanted was a cat cafe, like where you would go in, have like coffee, and there'd be cats everywhere.
Yeah. Which
And
I
that was,
guess like I like had like a little baby vision board for that, and obviously like that's not what I want anymore. But it did help me like have
Start.
like something to hold on to be like, I want this. Like I'm like going for this.
And I
And
think that is so important.
mhm,
So important that hear what she said. She said, even though it was small, it gave me something. It gave me something to hang on outside of her. So she didn't have to think about her. She can think about her vision in Paris with a cat cafe with the different cats. And Kate and I literally we used to talk about the different cats. We would talk about it. We would describe the books that because there would be a big library in there. We'd talk about the coffee she was going to serve. Like we talked about detail because in that moment it gave her something versus feeling like she had nothing,
yeah.
you know. And I remember like you even hired, one of my coaches with my company to help you with the homeschooling, to keep you on target, to keep you going. And I remember she's like, this is great. We can use that vision to really get her in like understanding math and business and stuff. And then there was a whole different curriculum with your school. So we figured out that wouldn't work, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The point is that you having that small little vision really was probably the key component to pulling you out of that dark cloud, as you called it.
Yeah, I think it was like a mixture of like having something to like look forward to and like a goal to like strive towards no matter how like far-fetched it was, and then also like that in a mixture of like what content I was consuming.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say it's far fetched, but it's really not. Like,
Yeah.
if you truly wanted that someday as a hobby,
Yeah.
it could happen. I mean, it
It
could.
could.
So tell the listeners now. So, how far you've come from being, part of an outpatient, going through therapy, then getting a life coach, going through the point where I don't even know the purpose of living, you know, um, going through opportunity, like little pockets of self harm, going through feeling like, you were gay to really coming into who you are today. Just a year, like almost 2 years later, you have a solid foundation of who you are, what you want. You create vision boards. What do you see yourself doing now in the future?
Well, like I have like a more of like a like solid foundation of like I know like what I want, and it might like change obviously, but like
Sure.
it's pretty solid now. Like like I want like a family, like and I want like a good job, and like I want to travel and stuff, and like I can actually like take steps to like get those things, like rather than it just being like I wake up and I'm like, why
For
did
what?
I wake up this morning? Like I did
Right.
not want to. And
So your
then now
purpose.
it's like I know what I want. Like I'm gonna like I get to like be 16 for now, but then like one day like I'm gonna have like a family and I'm gonna have like a job and I'm gonna get to like travel the world and stuff.
That is beautiful. And what college do you want to go to?
I don't know yet.
But you know that there's a college out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're picking a pretty good private school to go to set
Hmm.
yourself up to win. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a college out there that you want to go and carry on your education.
Yeah.
And, I love it. I love that that you want to have a family and you want to travel and you want to, find that job that, and you and I've talked about it, like the thing that lights you up.
Hmm.
It's like one of my mentors have always said, it's like the day that you wake up doing what you love is the day you wake up and you don't ever have a job again.
Yeah.
And, and you and I've talked about that. And so what I love is that fire in your eyes now and that spark in your eyes and the fact that you're actually happy to wake up every day. And it's like, I wonder what this is going to bring me. And your
Yeah.
weekends are busy and you're getting your driver's license. And
Yeah.
so I just want to share with our listeners, when I talked to Kate almost 2 years ago, I hope it's okay I share this, Kate.
Yeah.
I said, what is your goal? Like, what is your outcome with us coaching? And she's like, I want my freedom. I said, well, Kate, what does freedom look like to you? And she said, having a vehicle to go to Starbucks and get my Starbucks and just sit there and know that no one had to drive me and I was on my own and I could just drive there. And how great, like, what it came down to is like you were looking for freedom. You were looking for space to be you,
Hmm.
accepted. And now in a week you'll have your car. So your driver's license, you already have your car. and you can go. I can't wait for you to take a selfie at Starbucks and
No,
say,
you'll be the first one. I'll send the picture too.
we made it. We made it. We met your goal. A
I
year and a
know.
half later, 2 years, we met your goal. And I just think that is so beautiful to see where you were. And I love how you described it as a dark cloud.
Hmm.
You didn't make it about you. You didn't say, I was depressed. I was anxious. You said there was a dark cloud over me that kept me in this mood, if you would,
Hmm.
you know, and just like all dark clouds in our life, they come and they go,
Yeah.
you know. So for our listeners now, when you come up with challenges, because you're a teenager, so I'm sure you have challenges in your life,
Hmm.
how do you deal with them now versus how you used to deal with them when you had that cloud over you?
Well, I think how I used to deal with them is like it's just another thing to add to the top of the pile. Like I don't really want to think about it. Like it's just adding to like the cloud. It's like not like I don't think I can like do anything about it. Like there's like I just don't like know what to do. Like I'm already dealing with all this other stuff. And I feel like now when like a challenge comes along, I'm like, okay, like how can we fix it? Like how can we like deal with it? Like do we need to do like this or maybe like this is like the better option? But like and then like picking through it to like find like what the like outcome will be.
We definitely have moved you to outcome focused. Like, what's the outcome and what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah.
And what is beautiful is that through the coaching, that's probably been the most sustainable thing that you've created in your life is that it's not looking at something as a challenge. It's like, what's the opportunity? Even like when we get anxious, it's finding the gift, right? Like, what
Mhm.
is available to me right now that is going good in my life to give you that certainty? Because anxiety really comes from not knowing the uncertainty of something.
Yeah.
And it's so great because you do a lot of things now that bring a lot of uncertainty. Like when you're going with your best friend to a prom or something, it's like you don't know people there, but you're going with one person and you don't feel anxiety anymore. There's no social anxiety. You're going there to have fun.
Mhm.
And I think the difference is you're living now.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, 'cause
not
I
just
feel like
surviving.
yeah, because I feel like when I like do still like have like a feeling of anxiety, I just take a deep breath and like let it go away and like just not pay any attention to it and
I
just like let myself like separate myself from like that feeling.
So would you say the real freedom is that what you've already established? You're no longer surviving, you're now living
Yeah.
and looking forward to it. So what is the next thing you're looking forward to in your life?
I mean, probably just going to like summer camps with my friends and like just having fun this summer. And then after that, it's, starting at a new school and, you know, graduating eventually, but, making new friends through my new school and stuff like that.
Do you feel like you're ready? Do you feel like you're ready for that next step and you're ready to debut who this Kate really is?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to start a new little chapter.
This is so great. So great. So we have about another minute left. So just to wrap us up, if you could tell any of the parents out there, you know, what's something that you can tell them that they need to know about their kids, like to connect with them or to understand them?
I mean, I would just say like don't go into it with like a place of like judgment. Like that's like really like how they are like feeling right now. There's not like a simple like fix. Like it's not going to go away overnight. And then also like I mean just kind of giving them like other I don't know, maybe like other forms of like content or like other influences other than like, what they already have and seeing if like maybe that helps.
That's really awesome. Awesome. And I would just add to that is one of the things that we talked about also with Kate was having like that date night with her parents, like to really go somewhere out to dinner with her mom or her dad and just having that one-on-one time with them to really get acquainted again with your kids. Like understand their wants and their needs, understand the music and their style and where it's coming from. Again, like what Kate said, without judgment. So again, I would always just say be curious and not critical. And Kate, I just want to thank you so much for taking your time to be 16 to show up on a show in front of 1.25 million viewers. I commend you, and I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to be your life coach. I'm honored to have been on this journey with you and just see the beautiful girl and young woman that you have turned out to be. So thank you so much for being here. And if you are finding value in this conversation here on our show, please join our Redefine Parenting group on Facebook for even more tips and conversation. My free download ebook is Teach Your Children That They're Enough. The QR code's on the screen. Please download that. There are amazing tips in that book that will help you and your children to create their self-worth and their self-esteem. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.